Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome and good day. I'm Mikey with two E's. I'm also known as Metro Mikey. The two E's in my name stand for the environment and everyone, the two things that I care about most. I'm broadcasting with renewable energy from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and I'm a business and sustainability coach, a sustainable salon owner, a hairstylist specializing in eco-friendly platinum and blonding services, and I'm one of your hosts and MCs for our Green Beauty Community Meetups. If you are watching live, please put your name and where you're tuning in from in the chat and definitely ask questions or comment whenever you think of anything. We have a few short announcements before we dive in. But first, let me send it over to Jacqueline, our other host and MC. Hi,
Hello,
Jacqueline.
everyone. Hi, nice to see both of you, or everyone. I'm Jacqueline Rodriguez. I am the host of the Green Beauty Community podcast, as well as the Impactful Salon Owner podcast. And I wanted to go over today about the community meetups. Actually, sorry, Mikey, are we going back to you?
Yeah, we'll send it right back to me. And I want to tell everyone about our Earth Gives Day campaign. The GBC is partnering with Earth Gives Day. It's a 26-day long initiative to invite more people into the community, environmental stewards and climate action takers. It is a platform hosting environmental nonprofits to help boost their initiative. This campaign runs from September 6th to October 1st. As I said, the Green Beauty community is proud to be a part of it, and our friends are going to post a link in the chat if you're tuning in. That way you can go directly to where they're sponsored and hopefully sponsor that campaign. Jacqueline, what else do we have coming up?
We have the community meetups on September 23rd. We're going to start our monthly community meetups. It's a time to connect and network with other members of the community. And we will have the link in the chat here to RSVP to join. We also have our upcoming volunteer meetups, which is going to be September 30th. And that is going to be to really talk about the volunteer program, what is included in that. We're looking for content creation, community outreach, memberships and donation drives, event campaign and support. And that also will be a link right in the notes here for you to RSVP to meet us there. And
I'm looking I'm looking forward to attending all of those. So hopefully I will see you all there. And today we have an esteemed guest, but I want to remind everyone of our mission. It's today and every day to make the planet a better place through creating and uplifting our community and sharing innovative yet sustainable practices. So we are joined today with my new and dear friend, Greg Starkman, the founder of Innersense Beauty. Hi, Greg. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what we're talking about today.
Wow, absolutely. So nice to meet you, Mikey, as well. And I'm just happy to be here. I so believe in the mission of the Green Beauty community. And, it's about educating and inspiring, right? That's what's really important today, especially in a world where there's so much misunderstanding. So I think one of the things that I'm so excited and why I support this organization so much is because I believe that there just needs to be some relevant and intelligent information that helps people make good, healthier, and better decisions. So a little bit about myself. I am a passionate hairdresser. I was really born and raised around the beauty industry. Always had an understanding and familiarity with it. So when I landed in beauty school, it was like home. And I lived a great career behind the chair for well over 12 years before I entered big beauty and had an opportunity to take my passion from behind the chair into beauty, and worked in many different facets within the beauty industry. Always found a love for educating, inspiring, marketing, and of course, having my hands in product. And I became really kind of I would say at first it wasn't called clean beauty. It was actually called safe cosmetics. It really became a safe cosmetic entrepreneur, as I grew up and became really enamored with organic and clean chemistry. But it was also kind of at a very parallel path. The love of my life, Joanne, and I are both, again, passionate hairdressers. We met and fell in love in the beauty industry. It was when our daughter Morgan was born, and we were diagnosed with a rare genetic disability, that Joanne became an avid and devout label reader and really began to really understand what she was being exposed to every day and what she was exposing her clients to, and more importantly, what she didn't want to expose her daughter to. So she began to outreach into the natural products world to really find products that would help deliver safer, cleaner products. But what she was finding is, while those products might have been cleaner, they weren't efficacious in delivering the performance or the results that she and or her clients would want. So really that kind of started a very mutual kind of combination of conversation, and it really helped set the intention and the mission for Innersense. And Innersense was really created back in the late 90s. We began to really start a formulating journey that really was to develop products that really met the needs of the emerging safe cosmetic consumer, especially as product safety was becoming very globalized with the advent of the EU standards, which were introduced in the late 90s, and really wanting to develop products that met a healthier, cleaner standard by eliminating the most egregious toxic ingredients. And this goes way beyond parabens and silicones and sulfates, but it's everything in between. We eliminated from day one the elimination of well over 3,000 egregious, well-known toxic ingredients, and then also removed all the cosmetic ingredients that are very rampant in beauty products: resins, silicones, plasticizers, microplastics, synthetic polymers, all these things today that really don't do very good much for the hair, other than, in my estimation, compromise hair health. But let's start to begin to understand the environmental impact that these very ingredients have on our waterways today. And I think these are the things that have kind of moved me and made me very passionate about, and an obsessive formulator as I develop products to really be able to meet our needs. And today, Innersense has really emerged as really one of the pioneers in clean beauty. And we're excited about what our purpose is. We're not about a beauty brand, we're about a purpose, and it goes way beyond what we put in the bottle. And that's what we live our mission and our purpose every day. So it's a little bit about me.
That was a lot to take in, but I'm so happy to do so. Thank you for sharing with everyone.
Thank God there's going to be a replay.
Yeah, right. So we might have to watch this a couple times to understand all of the amazing things that you're doing and that the company is doing. So I know that you mentioned some of the standardization of products that Innersense has gone through to eliminate things that they don't want to use. How did that get started? And is there like a standard, federally for safer cosmetics?
Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, as I said, in the 1990s, the EU was probably one of the very first countries that began to establish what's called the REACH program. And the REACH program was, and this really kind of came back, a lot of people don't understand the origin of this, from mad cow. And remember the word mad cow, it might be predate a little bit, but, at that point, the governments of the EU wanted to really understand the environmental impacts that was leading to this, right? And through that, they established the REACH program, which was beginning to safety assess every ingredient within our supply chain, and began to create fractional lists of banned ingredients, really forcing kind of a safe cosmetic standard, as well as standards outside of just the beauty industry. And that began kind of a globalization of countries establishing more direct, safe cosmetic standards as well. In the United States today, the United States remains the only industrialized country without a federalized cosmetic standard. As I was kind of telling you earlier, there hasn't been any kind of cosmetic legislation in better than 60 plus years. And the government outside of the FDA has no oversight. And the FDA has very little to no oversight unless there are products in the marketplace that are having a direct impact. I mean, I want to kind of go back to chemical straighteners, and all of that. Even with all of that, there was never any legislation that came out at the state or at the federal level to protect consumers, especially against, say, formaldehyde exposure, so to speak, which is a known carcinogen. So, with that being said, to kind of back up a little bit, um, you know, um, the FDA has very little to no oversight, and so what's really kind of occurred over the last 15 years is this very much a grassroots level of organizations, both NGAs as well as cosmetic and personal care and home care manufacturers that have come together and really started working with NGOs like safecosmetics.org, or the Breast Cancer Prevention Partners organizations that are really focused on environmental impact to start developing state and federal policy and legislation that really begins to create better governmental oversight and protections. And it's a very, very much a challenging thing along the way. But organizations like Innersense really have harnessed, the power of wanting to use our voice to help create better safety standards and consumer awareness, especially around what is known today as clean beauty, which unfortunately, the word clean beauty is like greenwashing, right? There's not a lot of standard around it at all. Anybody can say it. In fact, about 80% of brands today claim to be clean. And, it's anybody's guess what they mean by that. But I think at the same time, too, what we're working to do as an organization is develop better transparency, better awareness, and more importantly, drive cosmetic policy at the state and federal level that provides better consumer protections. But more importantly, I also want to say that beauty and wellness professionals are probably among the highest risk of users of these very products, with the exposure rates being 10 to 20 times that of a consumer on a day in and day out basis.
Over the span of a whole career, like that will
Amen.
add up.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm a huge advocate and champion. And so for the policy, I know that each municipality, each state, and then the federal government can have differing standards. Is there a group or a watchdog when it comes to what we're doing in these different states to police these policies? Or let's talk about the safer beauty bills that were introduced and how we're trying
Right.
to regulate it on a federal level. That way, it kind of is a blanket statement for what the state should or shouldn't be doing.
Right. Kind of I often say, the fertile ground is California, because California is all about environment and consumer safety and protection, right? And so a lot of state legislation is born out of California. And through California, it's spread to other states that tend to be very much wanting to embrace better consumer protections, both for the environment as well as social responsibility. And so when you look at California, Maryland, Washington, Oregon, Vermont, these tend to be states that are very, at the cutting edge of driving better consumer protections, and then Safe Cosmetics along the way has been at the forefront. So 2 years or 3 years ago, we were really driving cosmetic fragrance disclosure, which is probably one of the biggest areas, because cosmetic, when you see the word fragrance is kind of a catch-all. A brand can throw anything under the umbrella of fragrance and claim that it's an ingredient is non-existent when it's very present within the fragrance panel of formulas. So really, the Fragrance Disclosure Act was really kind of the beginning of driving better consumer protections through better transparency and reporting. So in California, as I said, Maryland, Washington, Oregon, Vermont, we were very successful and able to drive at the state level and lobby and pass at the state level the Cosmetic Fragrance and Flavor Right to Know Act. And so that is part of 5 major bills that are part of the Better Beauty package that is now moved from the states to the federal level and is currently now sitting in Congress. And I was just in Congress in July, meeting both on the House and the Senate side with some amazing brand colleagues, really out trying to educate, motivate, and really have great dialogue with some amazing senators that have been very much behind driving a lot of these bills. The late Dianne Feinstein was one of the biggest supporters of driving safe cosmetic legislation. Here in Chicago, you have Jan Chanikowski, Kristen Gillibrand. I actually met and had a great moment with Cory Booker. And so on the Democratic side, we have a lot of support, and we do also have support across the aisle on the Republican side. But this shouldn't be a blue or red issue. This is really about consumer protections that are really critical to the future. And I think the other thing that's really driving this right now is really, again, as I was sharing with you, the cancer moonshot that is currently a huge initiative with the Biden administration. It was originally shepherded by the Obama administration, and it wasn't necessarily about finding a cure for cancer, but it was about finding the environmental impacts. What is the levels of exposure that we're being exposed to every day that are leading to the increases of health and cancer issues among our population. So, one of the 5 bills, just to kind of run through, and I really invite everybody to go to safecosmetics.org. I think that this, as beauty and wellness professionals, is an amazing resource. And they also have an amazing red list that they're also building on that you have to really know and understand. Because, as beauty and wellness professionals, we've got to peel back behind the glass, behind the veil of packaging on what's in the bottle, right? What is this? And if you don't know, you need to become your best advocate. Don't take the marketing spin, really peel it back and make sure that the brands you're dealing with meet a standard of transparency that you need so that when your customers have an expectation, you're able to meet it, right? It's really, really important. But there's, again, 4 major bills. There's 5 actually. One was peeled off, and that's called PFAS. PFAS is forever chemicals, and that kind of was split again away because it's been getting a lot of traction as a bill onto its own. So that's removing, again, forever chemicals that are affecting us not only in our cosmetics but in food packaging. I mean, it's in everywhere, right? HR 3619 is the Toxin Free Act. It again removes the most egregious toxic ingredients out of beauty products, as well as phthalates. 2 long-chain parabens, which are still really present in beauty products, even though a product will say paraben-free, as well as 2 types of formaldehyde that are still present as well. Mercuries, phenoldiamines. I'm going to get in trouble for mispronouncing that. It's a long-chain word, but as well as mercury. So these are the types of ingredients that are very much present. These ingredients have also been banned out of the very 5 states that I was sharing with you earlier, being at the very forefront. So these are the types of legislative actions that we're trying to take to the federal level for better consumer protections, as well as cosmetic safety for communities of color. Believe it or not, these communities are so, underserved and underprotected, especially when you look at chemical relaxers and things of that nature. So it's literally removing the most egregious formaldehyde-based, mercury-based ingredients from those products and really creating higher standards. And then, as I noted earlier, it was also the Cosmetic Fragrance Act. These are also about fragrance disclosure, having a national database so that you can access this type of information and be rest assured that when someone's saying natural, organic, or clean, that it is, right? There's nothing in there that you wouldn't want your customer, client, or yourself to be exposed to. And then the Supply Chain Transparency Act. So many brands today that are small, that are emerging, they don't have really the access to the level of transparency and information they need to be able to validate what they're doing. And look, it was only probably within the last, I would say, 15 years of our existence that we've been able to kind of gain the scale to better control our supply chain from ground up. So these are things that are really important. But really, these four bills really kind of make up the Better Beauty Bill to really begin to help move policy. I guess the last thing I'll say, and I know I'm rambling, so raise your hand and stop me at any given point, but you know, these kind of bills, while they're really important, they're met with a lot of headwind, right? A lot of political headwind. And the reason for that is that, there is what they call the Personal Care Coalition, which is one of the industry's largest legislative lobby groups, that's really also a big proponent of any type of additional federal oversight or regulation with regards to cosmetics. And it's really unfortunate. But I think that we collectively need to continue to have a bigger voice in being able to drive what we know consumers want and what they expect, and more importantly, dishearteningly, what they assume is there that's not there.
Yeah.
There's so much
I
to unpack there. Go ahead, Jacqueline.
I was well on that, and that is one of my biggest missions is just trying to figure out like how can I get involved and how do I then help others go through that, right? And that's what we do here at the Green Beauty community. And I guess my question, because there is so much to unpack as salon owners and hairstylists, where we are working day to day, not only in this for ourselves, right, to make sure that we're healthy, but I really believe that we have such a stance with our clients that when we start to learn and do better, we start to make this big compound effect that will actually help move everything forward. But I know as salon owners and hairstylists, we get overwhelmed. There's a lot to think of. Like, how do we navigate all of this? What would you say would be like the number one step that would be easy for us to just start there and make some headway?
Yeah, I mean, I think personally, look, and I'm saying this as a brand founder, but it's just like, I'm going to tell you right now, don't rely on me. Don't use that as a soundbite, by the way. But you know what? Become your own self advocate, right? Engage with organizations like safecosmetics.org, because you know what? They really are going to be leaning into really driving a professional network to be a better advocate in providing information. Other organizations are Women's Voices for the Earth, Black Women's for Wellness. These are NGOs that are really working to provide better policy and legislative efforts to really move mountains, right? And I guess, you know what, the internet today, the amount of blockchain information that's out there, that allows you to really understand the environmental impacts as well as the personal safety impacts of what we're exposed to day in and day out. As I said, beauty and wellness professionals are an exposure rate of 10 to 20 times that. And let's not even talk about hair color, right?
Oh yeah.
And what you're exposed to there, right? It's really, that's a fascinating journey onto its own. But I think here you just need to really kind of begin to really understand what is in the bottle that you're using. What's the difference, and then you need to be able to ask your manufacturer some pretty hard questions, right? Your brands, you need to be willing to get on the phone, as we do, and answer hard questions. I think that that's about what being transparent is all about. And we provide a huge level of complexity of information for our salon owners as well as our consumers to make good, healthy business decisions.
I love that. And I think it's really important for us to dive into all of that, look beyond the marketing, like you had stated. I mean, it really does take it's our responsibility to look at what's in the products that we're giving not only to ourselves and our clients, but then the bigger piece too is as you're going along the journey. And it's so funny, I did a podcast on this yesterday, like that journey you're going on, educate your clients, help them understand, and where does that take the next step in that. I just know taking the time to really read into all of these things and learn as much as you can and just start from the ground, baseline, and keep
Yeah,
moving up, because I've been working
right,
on it a long time, but there's so much to learn still. So I've loved
right.
this conversation.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I learned very early on, mind you, we launched Innersense in 2006. It was a really tough journey, right? And it's remarkable that we stayed with it, but I always passionately had a belief that the consumer would find us, the beauty and wellness professional would find us, and it was always early adapters. And look, we struggled for many, many years to find our footing, but the consumer really awareness really began to explode pre-COVID. And that was driven by influencers, and it was driven by consumers really walking into salons too and educating their stylists, right? And so now, of course, it's blown out. Of course, like anything else, when it becomes commercialized, it becomes a little bit confusing. But as I said, there's so much information out there that allows you to make better, healthier, cleaner decisions for yourself, for your customers, and more importantly, for your family.
That is so
So
good.
important.
And I just want to point out like some statistics about, the products and hair color and stuff that we're using. There are ingredients in beauty and hair care products that literally take 28 seconds to cross the skin barrier, enter into our bloodstream, and some of those chemicals can actually cross the blood-brain barrier and give us
Mhm.
neurological disorders that we still don't even know the implications of. Times that by at any moment, there's about 500,000 hairdressers in the US serving, our population. uh, the cumulative effects of that over a career, and then the environmental impacts on the water with the products going down the drain. Uh, I know that we had stories a couple years ago about the fish in the river where we live becoming intersex. And while I don't know that that was necessarily a beauty related thing, the things that we put down our drain matter. And so these are
Yes.
things that will have impacts right in our own backyard that we may not be thinking of. So we need to become our own advocates. And I fully support the safer beauty bills, and the PFAS bill on its own.
Mm.
But we have to be the ones who are forcing this change. We have to advocate for brands like Innersense or the other ones that are making sure that our products are safe and transparently safe. And then we need to, like Jacqueline said, educate our clients on why that's important for them at home and in their own lives too. So it's this big circle we're trying to complete here at GBC. So thank you, Greg, for all of that.
Yeah, so much. I mean, again, I can talk for about 3 hours, and we don't have it, but again, there's just so much to drill down here, and I hope I did a good job trying to articulate today. Because I mean, as I'm speaking, there's just so much more coming in that I want to share. But I think today was a good start, and I hope to be able to come back or have other members of my team come back I know that I'm trying to get Janet Noodleman from safecosmetics.org to come on, because talk about a woman of policy and the understanding of this is not about the fear, it's about the science, and the science is there to validate what we're speaking to. And there's other amazing authorities that I hope to also bring to you guys that really make better sense of it, right? As well. And while I'm excited to be a voice, I'm not about here to talk about Innersense. I'm really here more as an advocate to really help inspire and inform a community that's really important to both Joanne and I.
That is awesome, Greg. I look forward to hearing all of that. Let me just pose one thing, before we start wrapping it up. And that is, I was, for a little while before my life became a bit unmanageable time-wise, I was a part of an advocacy group called Politics, Beauty, and Barber. That's actually a group dedicated to tracking and monitoring and helpfully, not hopefully, but helpfully influencing policy as it becomes evident in state and local legislation. Um, with that group, we were also made aware of deregulation in the cosmetology industry. So there are bills that are being advanced that are trying to deregulate the cosmetology industry in certain states or limit the powers thereof. So when I talk about policy on a local, state, or federal level, I'm always wondering, like, how can we make sure that we're doing what we need to do without relying on the government? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, again, this is kind of the dumbing down of beauty when we need to be strengthening it. And I say that in the sense that, what's driving this is the amount of franchisees that are trying to deregulate because they feel that they can train people better than the beauty schools. And while we're dealing with a little bit of an antiquated system there, I think that we don't need to. We need to. We need to bring our education system into the 21st century, so to speak, and modernize it so that when our hairdressers come out of beauty school, they're better prepared to meet the challenges ahead as professionals. We have an attrition rate of better than 89%, I think, of beauty school students that stay in the business less than 12 months. We need to have better paths. And so I think to that point, there's definitely a lot of opposition to deregulation, but there's also a lot of money behind pushing it. So I think that you, as a voice, as a salon owner, need to continue to voice your opinion to this, because collectively, as an industry, we need to fight for the heart and soul of who we are. Because otherwise we're going to have a lot of kitchen cosmetologists causing a lot of trouble. So
this is accurate. Thank you for that. So if you're a salon owner or a beauty professional out there listening, take heed. We need to inspire ourselves and hopefully inspire the rest of our communities, because
amen.
all the things that we
Yeah.
built could go up in flames in the very near future. But with that said, let me pass it over to Jacqueline. Did you have any final thoughts before we start wrapping it up?
Yeah, I think when we're talking about policies and getting involved in that, is there a specific place that we should look first to get involved in helping the policies or, becoming a part of them?
First and foremost, again, safecosmetics.org, Women's Voices for the Earth. These are two really powerful organizations that are their mission focused on driving these beauty packages forward. It is so important that individually you go onto their websites, get linked in, and start really advocating, writing letters to your legislators, both at the state and federal level, because you know what? As our voice gets bigger and they start hearing from us, they're going to want to respond. It's so equally, the other way around, right? So I think right now, I was on a call last week, and I just basically said we need to start making our voices heard. And I hope that as Green Beauty Network continues to build its community, it on its own becomes a bigger voice, being able to support the community and driving change and supporting. We talk about environment, we talk about sustainability. This is also not, these are not words, people. These are actions. These are about being responsible. And, it's like it is on our shoulders to put forth action. And so these organizations, I really encourage you to get tapped into these organizations. There's also a lot of other organizations. Hey, look, you know what? The Professional Beauty Association, tap in, find out where they sit with supporting cosmetic legislation. It will kind of maybe blow your mind, right? So really kind of understand which way they're leaning. All these things are really important, but more importantly, I think that this will make you feel really good, and more importantly, hopefully continue to educate, inspire you along the way. And one thing I'll just tell you about this community is all of you that are here are intelligent people. You want to know. You are inspired to educate yourself. So thank you for being here and listening to all of this, because it's so important. What we do matters every day. It's just not about cutting hair or coloring hair. It's about, having a bigger purpose. I'm starting to see salons that are really trying to become B Corp, really driving to become more sustainable, more environmentally focused, really becoming advocates and wanting to create better holistic environments that really care. It's not about gum chewing anymore. It's about being, ritual in what you do every day and having a more meaningful environment. That's what consumers want more than ever. And it's just exciting to see how we're evolving.
And you pointed it right out, Greg. This is literally what the green beauty community is trying to do. So here's, my personal call to action. These shoulders are pretty broad, but they are getting tired of shouldering all this weight. So I am not afraid to ask for help. Please help us at the green beauty community get the message out, talking to legislators, supporting amazing brands that are doing transparent and low tox and non-tox formulations. Please help us with all of that. Thank you, Greg Starkman, CEO of Innersense. It was a pleasure to have you, and we'll look forward to utilizing all of your resources in the future and hopefully having you back many, many times.
Absolutely. Mikey, Jacqueline, thank you so much for what you're doing as well. We're here to support.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Jacqueline. Any final thoughts before I send us off to the rest of our day?
I just want to say one thing to the community, that the green beauty community is going to be very powerful, but it's not going to be powerful without your support. So, my ask is that, I know that there's a link on the webpage, but, 5, 10, 15, 25, 100. It's, they're a nonprofit now. They are on a mission to make a difference, and they need your support more than ever. So that would be my last wish for you.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate it. Jacqueline?
Uh, I just have to say exact same thing. We can't do it without you, and we are very dedicated and we're passionate about what we do. So any support, and support comes in the form also of sharing and commenting and interacting with us so that we know how to best support you as professionals. And we can really just start to get this up off the ground and making a bigger difference in the industry.
That is awesome. These two are amazing, guests and co-hosts to have with me. I feel a little bit of my burden because my, final announcements were going to be, we are a nonprofit organization, as you said, and we did this to form a more cohesive collective, our GBC Community Foundation. We do have a donation link in the @Green Beauty Community Foundation Instagram. You can also find that on our website, greenbeautycommunity.com. These donations are going to help further our mission, and they are also, because we're just trying to add value wherever we can, they are a tax deductible donation for anyone looking for extra tax benefits as those quarterly payments come due. I believe there will also be a link posted in the chat if you're watching live, and we are just so proud and honored to have launched this webinar series. It will be coming at you mostly live, sometimes pre-recorded every first and third Monday, barring holidays or major, events or, knock on wood, no catastrophes. So thank you, Greg. Thank you, Jacqueline. It's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to seeing you all in the Green Beauty community. Bye. Have a good day.
That was amazing, Greg.
Bye.